Today's case brings us to the bustling city of Leicester in the United Kingdom. Known for its vibrant culture and diversity, Leicester is a hub of art, sports, history, and renowned educational institutions. It is home to the esteemed Leicester City Football Club and the Leicester Tigers. In a chilling tale of marital deceit and brutality, a husband's sinister secret was exposed when his wife's lifeless body was discovered stuffed into a suitcase in their home. The gruesome discovery shook the community and left investigators reeling as they unraveled the dark events leading up to the heinous crime. Meet Ashwin, a seemingly ordinary husband and father who harbored a sinister intent beneath his charming facade. His wife, Kiran, a loving mother and partner, had unknowingly become a victim of his twisted greed. As the investigation unfolded, a trail of evidence revealed a calculated and ruthless plan, culminating in a shocking act of violence that would change their family's destiny forever. Join us as we delve into the disturbing details of this true crime case, where a husband's jealousy and control turned deadly, and a wife's life was brutally cut short, all in the name of a twisted love. Just outside the lively city center lies Lime Road, where Kiran Daudia, a 46-year-old woman, resided with her ex-husband Ashwin, aged 51. Kiran and Ashwin had an arranged marriage in India back in 1988 and were blessed with two sons, Vivek and Shivam. While Vivek lived and worked in Sheffield, Shivam stayed at home to complete his education. After enduring a tumultuous 26-year-long marriage, Kiran and Ashwin decided to part ways in 2014. However, they agreed to continue living together until they could sell their house and move on with their lives separately. Kiran had been employed at a Next call center for 17 years, considering her workplace as a second home and her colleagues as family. On the other hand, Ashwin dedicated long hours to operating machines in a factory. Kiran was known for her intelligence, outgoing nature, and passion for fashion and makeup. She was also a devoted fan of Leicester City. Her children described her as a caring and gentle soul who served as the backbone of their family. A few years after their separation, Kiran's sister expressed interest in purchasing their home. After months of paperwork, the moving dates were finalized. The plan was for Kiran to stay a little longer while Ashwin would move out on January 16, 2017. On that morning, Shivam followed his usual routine of getting ready for school. However, he noticed that the house was empty and Kiran seemed to have left for work early. Kiran returned home a few hours later, just before 2:30 in the afternoon. When Shivam arrived home at 3:30, he was surprised to find his mother absent. As the cold January day gradually turned into darkness, worry began to consume him. Around 6:30 p.m., Vivek received a phone call from his grandmother inquiring about any news from Kiran. Unfortunately, he hadn't heard anything and immediately became concerned. He promptly traveled from Sheffield to Leicester after ending the call. The following day was Vivek's birthday, and the entire family had plans to celebrate. Vivek's attempts to contact his mother were unsuccessful, as she did not return his calls. He anticipated her call to discuss the arrangements for the special day. Shivam utilized the Find My Phone app to track her phone, which indicated Mayfield Road, a short 5-minute walk from their residence. However, the app did not provide any substantial information. It was possible that it merely displayed the route she took while walking home that afternoon. The family collectively decided not to wait around and promptly contacted emergency services, reporting her as missing. The police gathered some details and created a record, prepared to commence their investigation the following day. However, before their inquiry could truly begin, they received a call at 9 a.m. from a neighbor residing on Cromer Street. Near a shared alleyway and backyard, there was a large suitcase that had mysteriously appeared overnight. The neighbors, curious about its contents, decided to open it. To their horror, they discovered the body of a woman inside. This discovery, coupled with the missing person reports from the previous evening, quickly led to the identification of the victim as Kiran Daudia. The situation was reminiscent of a scene from a horror movie. Kiran's head was covered with a bin liner, and her hands and ankles were bound with plastic cable ties which were secured behind her back. Torn pieces of latex gloves were also found in the suitcase and were promptly sent for testing. When the police informed Vivek of the tragic news, he was tasked with the painful duty of identifying his mother. Subsequently, detectives met with Kiran's family. Shivam and Vivek shared some stories that provided crucial leads for the investigation. Within a day, the horrifying truth about what had happened to Kiran would begin to unravel. Kiran's family informed the police that Ashwin had displayed a complete disregard for the situation when he was told to leave the house in mid-January. He showed no intention of packing or finding another place to live, which was just one of the many issues between them. Vivek and Shivam revealed that they had endured years of abuse from their father since they were very young. Vivek, at the age of 13, shared that his father had attempted to burn him with an iron and would frequently resort to physical violence using objects in the house. Kiran herself was also a victim of physical and verbal abuse. As time went on, the abuse worsened, leading Vivek and Shivam to intervene and protect their mother from harm. Ashwin stopped contributing financially towards the household expenses, placing an additional burden on Kiran, who had to work even harder. His excessive drinking further exacerbated the problems. The fact that Kiran's ex-wife was allowed to stay in the house while Ashwin was not caused significant tension, often triggering Ashwin's anger. Recently, Kiran had joined a dating app, expressing her excitement to move on and meet someone new, indicating that she believed the divorce was finalized. Shivam recalled a conversation where Kiran jokingly said to him, "What if he ends up killing me?" As Shivam recounted the events of January 16th to the police, it became increasingly evident that Ashwin harbored enough animosity towards Kiran to potentially harm her. When Shivam returned home and discovered his mother's absence, with no response to her phone, he confronted his father, accusing him of wrongdoing. Ashwin, however, failed to provide a clear answer, merely staring at Shivam and shrugging. Kiran's body was found in close proximity to her home, facilitating the police's investigation through the examination of nearby surveillance cameras. On January 16th at 6:19 p.m., 2 cameras on adjacent streets captured disturbing footage. The footage revealed the sight of a suitcase being dragged through the streets, which Kiran had been forced into. Despite Kiran's attempt to conceal his face, the police identified the person responsible for dragging the suitcase as Ashwin Dadia. 2 days later, Ashwin was arrested, and the police commenced their investigation to unravel the events that had transpired. Shortly after Kiran entered the house that afternoon, an argument erupted. Ashwin informed the police that Kiran had started shouting at him due to his failure to pack anything, as he was scheduled to leave that day. The argument escalated into a physical altercation, and Ashwin admitted to losing control. He repeatedly struck Kiran on the head before ultimately strangling her with her own scarf. Subsequently, he forced her into the suitcase and dragged it outside. Ashwin then proceeded to clean up the blood and awaited Shivam's return at 3:30. Meanwhile, Shivam was frantically searching for his mother, unaware of the unfolding tragedy. Just after 6 p.m., Ashwin hastily returned the suitcase to the street before hurrying back home. 30 minutes later, Ashwin disposed of Kiran's phone, which was later discovered on the roof of a nearby business. Additionally, he placed all cleaning materials and her blood-stained clothes into another suitcase, which remains missing to this day. Following his murder charge, the DNA testing on the latex gloves confirmed that they indeed belonged to Ashwin, as expected. Almost a year after the discovery of Kiran Dadia's body, her ex-husband's trial commenced at Leicester Crown Court. Both Vivek and Shivam testified, shedding light on the unhappy and rage-filled household solely attributed to their father. During the trial, Ashwin's lawyer questioned Vivek, asking if he had any positive memories of his father. Vivek responded, "Not the abusive parts." When asked if he could recall any kind acts, Vivek replied, "No." His lawyer further probed, "You can't think of a single positive thing throughout your entire life." To which Vivek simply replied, "I can't." The prosecution presented a compelling case, combining various pieces of evidence such as CCTV footage, DNA evidence from the gloves, and the defendant's history of abuse. These elements strongly contradict the defendant's claim of innocence and ignorance regarding Kiran's death. It is evident that the intention behind one person strangling another is clear. On the other hand, the defense team argued for a manslaughter conviction, asserting that Ashwin acted in self-defense due to bullying from his family. Ashwin admitted to strangling Kiran but claimed he did not know what was happening and was merely holding her. However, Kiran's family strongly refuted this, stating that it was out of character for her to instigate any violence and that she lived in a constant state of fear. After a short deliberation, the jury found Ashwin guilty of murder, resulting in a life sentence with a minimum term of 18 years. The judge did not mince words in his sentencing remarks, describing Ashwin as arrogant, bullying, and driven by a desire for control. The judge also commended Vivek and Shivam, recognizing them as exemplary young men. Shivam expressed his inability to recall his last moments with his mother. He mentioned that he was certain he had talked to her before going to sleep, but he couldn't recall their conversation, which haunts him daily. He also ponders about the potential outcome if he had arrived home sooner and witnessed his father's actions. Vivek nodded in agreement, adding, "I can't help but picture my brother walking in on our mother's murder if he had returned earlier. I believe he would have met the same fate." Kiran's family has issued the following statement: Kiran possessed a vibrant personality and was full of life. She was a loving and caring mother, as well as a thoughtful daughter, sister, and aunt. Her friendly and charismatic nature allowed her to have numerous friends. Kiran was not only beautiful but also enjoyed being photographed. She was the pillar of our family, known for her kindness, generosity, and angelic nature. The loss and emptiness in our hearts are indescribable. Every day, we will miss her perpetual smile, and this sentiment is shared by everyone who knew her. Kiran had dreams and aspirations that were tragically cut short by this heinous act. We are immensely grateful for the support we have received during this challenging time. We would like to extend our special thanks to the East Midlands Special Operations Major Crime Unit, including Senior Investigating Officer Simon Shuttleworth, Officer in the case Mark Wesley, and Officer Jenny Thompson, our Family Liaison Officer, as well as Leicestershire Police and the Crown Prosecution Service. Their tireless efforts have ensured that this evil individual is brought to justice. The perpetrator showed no remorse in admitting to his barbaric actions. We would also like to express our gratitude to Victim Support, Next Directory, and our employer, College Shri Hindu Temple Asian Funeral Service, as well as our family, friends, neighbors, and the public for their unwavering support throughout this ordeal. Additionally, we would like to thank all those who provided CCTV footage for the investigation. While justice has been served for Kiran today, our pain remains. Her energy will forever resonate within us, and we will carry this sentence with us for the rest of our days. Vivek expressed, although we can never bring our mother back, her resilience will continue to thrive within us. Each morning, I still reach for my phone and send a text to Mom, wishing her a good morning just like I used to do every day. It's the one constant in my life that I refuse to let go of. Ashwin Dadia had denied the murder charge, claiming he lost his temper during an argument with Kiran Dadia at their home in Leicester last January and did not attack her deliberately. Ashwin Dadia, described as a controlling husband who strangled his wife Kiran, put her body in a suitcase and dragged it near their house to dispose it off, was on Friday jailed for life in a widely followed case in the East Midlands city of Leicester. The incident on January 16th last year was preceded by tense relations between the two, who were married in 1998 and divorced in 2014. Their house was sold to Kiran's sister so that she continued to stay there with their two sons without Ashwin. The Leicester Crown Court was told that both lived in the same house after divorce, but the sale had been completed on January 16th and Ashwin was to move out. They had an altercation when Kiran returned from work and saw Ashwin sleeping and woke him up that she reportedly told him to go to India to die, which further enraged Ashwin, who said he lost control and strangled her. He was said to have later gone about his normal life, until the body was recovered and the police caught up with him. Judge Timothy Spencer said Ashwin's conduct represented selfishness and violence on a wicked scale, described him as arrogant, bullying, and bent on maintaining control. as opposed to his academically gifted, outgoing, fashionable, and westernized wife. Judge Timothy Spencer described Kiran as a bright and vibrant woman who had much to offer. The judge said, "You've deprived this world of a bright and vibrant woman who had much to offer, who lived for her children. But your cover-up in this case reveals you're not without wit, or, for that matter, cunning. You were conservative, content to go to work and then to drink in the pub or at home. You regarded yourself as the dominant figure in the marriage. Clung to the view you were the dominant force of the family and were entitled to control events." Detective Sergeant Mark Wesley, who was part of the investigation team, said the evidence against Daudia was overwhelming, with CCTV work and forensic examinations helping us to build a strong case against him. Through his own selfish, cowardly actions, Daudia has ripped this family apart, leaving 2 doting sons without a mother and other family members distraught and struggling to get over the pain and heartache he has caused. In a statement, Kiran's family said Kiran was full of life. With a vibrant personality, a loving, caring mother, and a very thoughtful daughter, sister, and aunt. Her friendly and charismatic nature meant she had many friends. She was simply beautiful and loved having photographs taken. She was the backbone of the family, very kind, generous, and angelic. We as a family cannot even begin to describe the loss and emptiness in our heart. Her perpetual smile will be missed every day of our lives by everyone who knew her. Kiran had lots of dreams and aspirations which were untimely taken away by this demonic act. Life without her will never be the same. In the summer of 1982, the twin cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota, were plagued by a series of horrifying crimes. The first victim, Karen Patak, a young 19-year-old, was brutally beaten and left exposed in the cold snow. Months later, another innocent life was taken when Kim Compton, a girl from a small town, was found stabbed to death at a highway construction site. The violence continued with the discovery of Barbara Simons, a 40-year-old woman pulled from the underbrush near the Mississippi River. Each incident was accompanied by distressing calls to the police from an unidentified man with a sorrowful voice. Assigned to the case, Minneapolis detective Don Brown focused his efforts on reconstructing Barbara Simons' last movements. His investigation led him to a bar called the Hexagon, where a potential eyewitness was found. Detective Brown diligently brought several members of the bar staff back to St. Paul homicide for questioning. Through an extensive process of elimination, they were able to rule out all suspects except for Paul Stefani, a 37-year-old janitor with a troubled history of psychiatric issues and a previous conviction for aggravated assault. He became the primary suspect in the case. Meanwhile, on the streets of Hennepin, a few prostitutes worked to make a living. Among them was Denise Williams, who found herself in a dangerous encounter with Paul Stefani. As they drove together, Denise noticed the absence of streetlights and grew suspicious of Stefani's intentions. Her instincts told her that this was not a shortcut as he claimed. Realizing she had no means of self-defense, Denise spotted a bottle on the car floor, a potential weapon to protect herself if needed. Denise's intuition proved to be crucial as Stefani drove onto a dead-end road and revealed a screwdriver, using it to viciously stab her in the stomach. Denise successfully gains access to open the car and falls onto the pavement. She sustains 15 puncture wounds from the screwdriver. She is then taken to Hennepin County Medical Center and immediately undergoes surgery. Meanwhile, in St. Paul, emergency operators receive another call. On the other end of the line is the weepy-voiced killer, but this time he is seeking help. Paramedics promptly respond to the residence of Paul Stefani at apartment 208. The police quickly establish a connection between the attack on Denise Williams and Stefani's injuries. They proceed to the hospital and inquire if Denise can identify her assailant from a picture. Denise positively identifies Williams as her attacker. Williams is subsequently convicted of attempted murder and charged with the murder of Barbara Simons, aged 38. A crucial aspect of the case is linking Stefani's voice to that of the weepy-voiced killer. Although the voice similarities are compelling, experts cannot definitively confirm that they are the same. However, The defendant's sister listens to the tape and testifies in court before the jury. She becomes emotional, confirms the voice is Paul's, and states, "That's my brother." After 6 weeks of presenting tapes and testimonies, Stefani is found guilty of murdering Barbara Simons. He is sentenced to 40 years of imprisonment. Meanwhile, in St. Paul, the legal proceedings for the other weepy-voiced cases come to a halt. Ramsey County prosecutors decide not to pursue a trial for the assault on Karen Patak and the murder of Kim Compton. 12 years later, Stefani, who has been diagnosed with cancer, expresses his desire to speak with some St. Paul policemen and reconcile. Pascal and his partner, Keith Mortensen, drive to the Oak Park Heights Correctional Facility, seizing the opportunity to finally resolve the cases of Kim Compton and Karen Patak. Stefani confesses to the detectives that he drove Karen Patak to an isolated parking lot and brutally attacked her with the lug end of a tire iron. As he revisited these incidents, he reverted back to the same demeanor and identity he possessed over 2 decades ago. Half a year after the assault on Karen Patak, Stefani admitted that he entered a local diner and struck up a friendship with an 18-year-old named Kimberly Compton. According to Stefani, Kimberly Compton agreed to accompany him on a nighttime excursion to explore the sights of St. Paul. While Stefani's confessions resolved 2 unresolved cases, the remorseful killer still had more to reveal. In his mind, he retraced his steps through the collection of his crimes and singled out a 4th victim, a woman he claimed to have drowned in the small town of Roseville, Minnesota. Detectives discovered a report that aligned with Stefani's account the unsolved drowning of Kathy Greening in 1982. News of this revelation quickly spread to Pepin, Wisconsin, Kimberly Compton's hometown. On June 12, 1998, Paul Stefani passed away from cancer while incarcerated.